Welcome back to Besleepy Storytelling. Tonight, in part 2 of The Forgotten Shadow in Egypt, the researchers step deeper into the tomb, where the walls themselves seem to breathe and shadows move when no one is watching. If these dark journeys help you sleep, please subscribe and leave a like. Now, relax but be careful. Not every voice in the dark is your own.
Part 2. The Descent. The deeper they moved, the less the tomb resembled anything Egyptian. The straight corridors of the upper levels gave way to passages that bent at impossible angles, forcing them to twist their bodies, duck low, or press sideways through spaces that seemed designed to unnerve. The walls felt damp, though they were carved from solid rock. Their flashlights revealed strange mineral veins that shimmered faintly, as though alive beneath the surface. Michael led, his shoulders squared and voice taut with false authority. Keep the lights high. Stay close, and whatever you think you hear, ignore it. But ignoring it was impossible. Every few minutes, one of them would snap their head toward a sound. The scuff of footsteps just behind them, the faint sigh of breathing from the walls, a whisper that carried their names. David cursed under his breath when he caught himself turning too often, flashlight jerking back to the path they had already taken. Sarah whispered to Michael that she felt eyes on her, not from behind, but from above, in the endless dark that swallowed their light beams. After nearly an hour of cautious descent, the tunnel widened into a chamber. The four froze as their beams illuminated the walls. Murals spread across the rock, but these were not hieroglyphs. The lines curved into spirals, symbols bent into grotesque distortions of familiar shapes. Faces leered out of the stone, elongated, eyeless, their mouths carved open in silent screams. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. They've changed. Elena moved closer, brushing dust from the carvings with trembling fingers. I swear these weren't here before. Stone doesn't change, David muttered, his laugh hollow. Even as he said it, one of the carved faces cracked wider, stone teeth splitting with a grinding shriek. All four of them staggered back. The face froze again, unmoving, but the damage remained. The carved mouth was larger now, jagged, hungry. Elena crossed herself, murmuring in Spanish. Not a tomb, a warning. Michael forced them forward, though every step tightened the knot in his stomach. The passage beyond sloped downward until it opened into a vast cavern. Their lights swept over a bottomless pit. Four narrow stone bridges stretched outward from the ledge where they stood, meeting in the center at a small pedestal. Resting atop it was a chest, obsidian black, gleaming with unnatural perfection. The chamber seemed to hum with low vibration, pressing against their chests. Michael felt the pull immediately. His pulse quickened. His feet moved almost of their own accord. "Don't," Sarah whispered, clutching his arm. "It's not for us." But Michael had already stepped onto the bridge. The slab groaned under his weight, hairline cracks racing across the surface. He froze, staring into the abyss beneath him. A loose stone broke away, tumbling into the void. They listened, breath held tight in their lungs. It fell and fell. 10 long seconds later, a distant crack reached their ears. "How deep?" David began. "Deep enough," Michael cut him off, retreating quickly. "We're not crossing." They skirted the chamber, choosing a narrow tunnel at the far side. Here, the air turned damp, clinging to their lungs. Their lamps flickered, beams warping strangely, as though the light itself bent around the stone. David stumbled suddenly, his boot pressing down on an uneven slab. A heavy crack sounded above them. The ceiling split, and stone spikes shot downward with terrifying speed. He threw himself sideways, a spear grazing his shoulder before shattering on the ground. They froze, staring at the shattered shards littering the floor. "Who builds something like this?" Sarah whispered. David's face was pale, his hand clamped over the bleeding cut on his shoulder. His voice was unsteady, not for protection, for containment. The words echoed in all of them. None dared to contradict him. The tunnel narrowed again, twisting like the throat of some buried beast. Their own breathing filled the silence, ragged and uneven. Every step felt heavier, as though the air thickened the deeper they went. Michael stumbled as an image burst into his head, Sarah plunging into the abyss, her scream echoing as she vanished. He gasped and shook his head violently. That wasn't his thought. He hadn't imagined it. It had been placed there. He glanced at Sarah. She was pale, her eyes wide with the same haunted look. "They're inside us," she whispered. "I hear myself, but it isn't me." Elena's hand shook as she wiped sweat from her brow. "It feeds on thought. That's how it survives." From the corner of his eye, Michael saw something move, a shadow, impossibly tall, sliding along the far wall. He snapped his flashlight toward it. Nothing, just stone, but his skin crawled with the certainty that it had been there, watching. The passage ended at a staircase spiraling downward. Each step was worn smooth, edges rounded as though countless feet had passed before theirs. The walls here were etched with deeper spirals, flowing lines that seemed to pulse faintly when the light touched them. The air grew warmer, thick with the scent of rot and metal. Their clothes clung with sweat. At the base of the stairs, a massive door loomed. Two slabs of rock pressed together, their surfaces etched with shifting symbols that made Michael's vision blur if he stared too long. Sarah moved forward as if drawn. She pressed her ear against the stone, eyes glassy. "Something's waiting," she whispered. Michael grabbed her arm. "Step back." She didn't move. A faint smile touched her lips, eerily serene. "It knows us. It's been waiting," Elena hissed, pulling Sarah away. "Don't listen." But Michael could feel it too. Not words exactly, but the pressure of meaning pushing against his skull. A presence beyond the door, patient and hungry. Suddenly the ground beneath them shuddered. Dust rained down, cracks racing across the ceiling. The slabs of the door pulsed faintly, like lungs drawing breath. David staggered back. "We need to leave, now!" Michael turned to the stairs, but the passage they had descended was already shifting, stone grinding against stone. The spiral sealed behind them with a deafening roar, cutting off their retreat. The only way forward was through the door. Sarah's hand reached for the carvings again, trembling yet eager, as if she longed for whatever waited beyond. Her lips moved silently, forming sounds that scraped against Michael's sanity. He seized her by the shoulders, shaking her hard. "Sarah! Stay with me." Her eyes flicked toward him for a heartbeat. Then she whispered, "It's already inside." The silence that followed was worse than any sound. Their breaths came quick and shallow, the chamber closing in like a coffin. Michael realized, with a cold certainty that made his blood turn to ice, that this was never a tomb. It was a prison, and something inside it had begun to stir.
This was part 2 of The Forgotten Shadow in Egypt. The deeper they go, the closer they come to something no one was meant to find. In part 3, the tomb will test them with traps, whispers, and fear itself. Be sure to subscribe and leave a like if you wish to continue this journey into the dark. Good night, if you can sleep.